Following that announcement of what have been called the reciprocal tariffs, we now have the quite startling revelation that the heaviest of these are not primarily tariffs at all. These really are fines imposed on countries for daring to run up a trade surplus with the US. And if there's a straight tariff here, it's that baseline 10% tariff on all countries, but the fines on the others have been worked out in relation to the volume and value of overall trade imbalances, not on taxes or tariffs applied to a particular product to a specific extent. Consider the basis of working out these supposed tariffs as now revealed by the White House. Take the case of India. The US imported about $88 billion worth of goods from India last year. India, on the other hand, imported goods worth $42 billion or so. The difference, clearly, between the two, simple sum, is $46 billion. And that is deficit for the US, surplus for India, of course. That difference has been, because Trump says he's so kind, halved to determine what India owes the US now by way of tariffs, which works out at $26 billion. And the number we saw on the chart flashed at the White House. And really, it's the same formula that has been applied to all the bad countries who sell more to the US than they buy from it. So that's an across-the-board formula that's been applied. A lot hangs on these very simple sums. For a start, that the US does not really finally care about tariffs on Harley Davidson or this produce or that produce or anything in particular. It just wants half of that deficit paid. So the real problem here is not, as Trump has been saying, that India is a high tariffing country, but that it is a high exporting country to the US, higher than the US is to India. And exporting what? Diamond and other jewelry, textiles, we have a bit of agricultural produce, such as spices, rice. None of these is produced in the US. The Trump administration clearly is now punishing India with heavy fines, or seeking to do so, because Americans want and buy something from India that Americans cannot buy in America because it's not made here, it's not grown here. One way, of course, to avoid this new American punishment or reduce it would be for India on its side to drop its undoubtedly high tariffs to let more American products in so as to reduce that deficit. India has begun to do so and do so substantially, but Trump is not prepared to wait, and not beyond April the 9th. There are underlying all this, underlying those charts, some numbers that really have not been talked about very much at all. The per capita GDP of the US is $82,000. The per capita GDP in India is $2,000. And given India's middle class, that does mean hundreds of millions living on far less than that 2,000 figure, and many of them are engaged one way or the other in agriculture. Letting in, therefore, American agricultural produce to overwhelm theirs is a move that the Indian government is unlikely to make, and that is not a path the Indian government is going to go down along. The Indian government move broadly would be to, no doubt, let the Indian middle class pay more for the American imports, and for the government itself to buy more American goods, and of course nothing more than oil and LNG at a price. It's really now all about finding a balance between the vastly unbalanced purchasing preferences and purchasing power between the two countries. Tariffs is just the name of the game.